But just for introductions, my name is Nathan Anico. I am a fourth year public health student in the population data science concentration track. I'm also minoring in sustainability science, and I'm here today presenting as one of the Adobe student leads here at SJSU with my digital literacy initiative, interdisciplinarity of professional branding, which is a campus-wide digital literacy initiative at SJSU, where I help students bolster their digital literacy skills in the context of professional branding and the creation of professional branding assets. And then if my colleagues want to introduce themselves as well.
I'm Shelby. I'm a second year digital media art major. I am the Adobe Student Events Coordinator for the SJSU campus, as well as a campus leader.
Hi everyone, I'm Shruti Khandat. I'm a software engineering grad student here at SJSU. I'm also an Adobe Student Ambassador. If you have any questions related to Adobe on campus or software engineering or engineering in general, please feel free to reach out to me.
Hey everyone, I'm Rishabh. I'm a software engineering graduate student as well as the Adobe Student Ambassador. And if you guys have any queries, issues related to how to actually get Adobe Creative Cloud or any other ancillary software, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Himali and uh, I'm studying data analytics in SJSU and I'm also part of Adobe Student Ambassador.
Yeah, so if there are any questions anytime during the chat or during this workshop, which will be around an hour, so sit tight, relax. If there's anything you miss, you're more than welcome to, or anything you don't understand, you're more than welcome to just say it out loud, unmute yourselves, but also message one of my colleagues as well during any time within the next hour or so. So I really want to, before we get started with Adobe Portfolio, let's try to set the stage up for why I'm kind of doing these workshops across different disciplines. I know this is with the public health department, but thinking about how this idea of professional branding storytelling transcends majors and disciplines across SJSU. So we all are storytellers, whether we like to believe it or not. And in the professional context, this can look like things such as, what you look like on your LinkedIn, what your profile looks like, or a resume, or a networking event. Or in a classroom context, that is, um, that dreaded final presentation that you have to do for any of your classes. These are all forms of storytelling, and we don't have an hour. We don't have 30 minutes. Sometimes we don't even have 10 minutes. Sometimes we just have 5 minutes, a minute, 30 seconds, or just a couple of seconds to make a lasting impression on our target audience, whether it be our professors, our peers, hiring managers, recruiters. Um, Hence, this is very interdisciplinary because all students of all academic backgrounds, not just public health, can benefit from having as many digital design assets in their depository as possible. And for those of you who are currently in the 165 series, or even if you're not a student, a public health student currently in the 165 series, these are some tools that you'll probably can utilize in your coursework, particularly for the leadership series. But beyond that, just having your own personal portfolio is something that could, at least for me, throughout my time here at SJSU, has allowed me to stand out. So I just want to preface before we go any further that, I'm not a career advice expert, though this delves into and bridges the lines of career and professional branding development. I don't in any means represent the Career Center here at SJSU. If you find any information that are contradictory to what you find working with the Career Center or querying the Career Center, you're more than welcome to, email me or message me or anything like that in the future to address those discrepancies of information that you hear. So what does and what can professional branding look like? So just another thing too, even if you don't have a LinkedIn or you currently have a LinkedIn, this is what it looks like. Pretty much a professional Instagram, if you will. And it's not the most attractive thing to look at. Let me just be honest. Like it looks like, too many words, looks like reading an essay. And I mean this in a joke in every way, but if your professors don't even want to read your essays, why would anyone in your professional network want to read an essay? Now, no shade to any professors, but that's just my joke for today. Um, so typically, even though it is important to have and describe all your various experiences in your experience section, again, people in your professional network are not going to read an essay, or most of them are not going to want to read an essay. So typically, the things that allowed me to stand out to recruiters, hiring managers, things like that, um, would be my profile section or my profile picture, profile section, also my featured section, on my LinkedIn page. And this, we won't be going over this, but I might as well share it. This is a LinkedIn banner which I created through Adobe Express. So this is what it looks like. Adobe Express is kind of like Canva, but like the better version because we get the premium version from SJSU. So this is like one way, a short, sweet, concise way to be able to tell my professional identity, professional journey to anyone visiting my page. But what we'll be going over and hearing for today will be the portfolio or my personal website, which I have on my LinkedIn page. Um, so, um, and one more thing before we get into that, before I forget, let's talk about how we can access Adobe Creative Cloud. So as an SJSC student, if you just search up Adobe CC SJSC, and then you want to go to request access for students for Adobe Creative Cloud for students, and you want to fill out this form. Though technically IT says it takes a couple of hours for you to get access to the entire Adobe Creative Cloud suite, um, most times, if not, it will take you a couple of days, so something to be mindful of. Leadership series or any other courses that it might take you up to a week even to address any technical difficulties with licensing and getting access to Adobe Creative Cloud. So once you have it downloaded, this is what it should look like on your computer. As you can see, there are like so many different platforms you're going to use. And again, I won't be going over this in detail, but I just wanted to mention how there are so many different software, whether it's Audition for podcasts in PH 135 or InDesign slides you could use for health communications, like the applications of Adobe Creative Cloud across different disciplines or different coursework in the public health coursework is very real and very relevant. So I definitely encourage you all to explore that as well. Um, so if any of you are having difficulties uh, accessing Adobe Creative Cloud, you could either email the IT service desk, that's their email, but also you can also reach out to eCampus, SJSU, and they should help you address any difficulties as well. So their email is here, visit ECAmpus, or you can also visit their location in the Instructional Resource Center, room 206. So this is what mine uh, let's just give you a brief overview of what mine looks like and my intention of how I incorporate, aspects of storytelling into my portfolio. So I am very intentional about how I have my, website very linear in telling its storytelling, at least for the very beginning. And I'll kind of go into detail how you can establish that linearity as opposed to just having some disorder with your website. Because, if you visit any website, um, you know, Amazon or Grubhub or whatever, there's always like a sense of linearity where there's a landing page and then there's some accessory or auxiliary links or tabs or navigation areas where you can, view, the website in a orderly fashion. Similarly with Portfolio, it's kind of the same notion too, where anyone goes to my website, the first thing that they'll go to is something called a welcome page. Now this welcome page, pretty straightforward. It welcomes students to the Adobe Creative Cloud or my Adobe Portfolio website. So it's really mindful. It's really important to have that there just to have it consistent across anyone visiting your website, who you are, talks about my major, my career aspirations, and then you can either go to my LinkedIn or, my About Me section, but it's very highly encourage to go to the About Me section. In that About Me section, I have basic, introductory information about me, more about my major, my career interests, which include sustainability, environmental health, innovation, entrepreneurship, food waste, food security, epigenetics, and the intersections of these subjects. And I also have my mission statement as well. So, these things are things you have to think about, especially in the leadership theories when you're thinking about what kind of jobs you want. How do you want to portray yourself to those in your professional network, hiring managers, recruiters, things like that. So my mission statement is very clear cut, very specific, very distinct, and it's like one of the first things that people notice and gravitate to when they are reading my story, my website linearly, which is to help bridge the knowledge and innovation gaps in the field of sustainability with consideration for human health promotion. As you can see here, I have some very lovely photos of myself, but I also have some engaging stock images that you can get through Adobe Stock, which I'll cover in just a little bit, and have some side-by-side information as well. And in this like navigation area of Adobe Portfolio, you can like, or at least for me, I've disaggregated my different experiences into or different, uh, things I've done at SJSU as my work experience or just experience. So as you can see, you can kind of see that organization, awards I've done, certifications, conferences. So it allows once students or anyone goes to my About Me page and sees that, they can kind of detract from that linear faction to look at various opportunities that I have or have accumulated while I've been here at SJSU. So kind of thinking about the organization, we can see portfolio as like the library, if you will, and these different headers or different tabs on the navigation plane as like bookshelves and these um, individual experiences or individual work experiences that I have as books in the bookshelves, and then these titles infer what's the book about. So as you can see, when I open one of my books or one of my pages, which include my work experience, you can see the various modalities, the multimodality integration that you can do with Adobe Portfolio. What's really great about, Adobe Portfolio or just is that you can integrate different media you have accumulated or used with the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. So if you made something through Adobe Express or Adobe Audition or Premiere Pro or anything like that, you can all integrate them in one central hub to culminate and tell that story. So as you can see, more infographics. I have some videos I made through other Adobe Creative Cloud software, web pages I've made through Adobe Express, more videos on infographics I made on Adobe Express, slides I've made through Adobe InDesign, and also some features regarding my different work experience, right? Because, when you're at the interview, similarly, like you only have a couple of seconds to be considered by someone you're being interviewed by. If you've ever been to an interview where it's like only 15 to 30 minutes, they ask you like, 10 questions and you don't have all the time in the world for them to consider you as a, worthy candidate. But by having this website at your disposal, because all interviews are online now, um, you can give them supplemental information that your competitors for that job position might not have. So on top of your resume, they have additional documents that they could refer you by and consider you as, if they see you as a potential candidate for a specific internship or job like that. And also, like when they ask you a specific work experience, because you're on Zoom, you can share your screen and show deliverables, right? As opposed to just saying, I did XYZ with this project or work experience and have photos or if you don't have photos of that specific work experience, you can use stock photos through Adobe Stock. But you can really have, an engaging multimedia, hub where you can really encapsulate and tell your story in a unique, creative, and also succinct way as well. So, yeah. So that's kind of what my portfolio looks like. Um, so you might not have access to Adobe Portfolio yet if you have not signed or if you haven't filled out that form, which is apologies on my end, but this video will be recorded, so you'll be able to watch it in follow along again if you weren't able to follow along during this meeting. Well, I'll just paste it in the chat. This is the site to create your portfolio, our personal website, Adobe Portfolio, which is one of the premier web browser-based applications under the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. So, when you first enter Portfolio, yours should be empty if you've never made your own website before. So you can have up to 5 active websites. I have my personal one, and then these are like the demo ones that I'll be presenting concurrently in this meeting. So anytime you want to start a new portfolio, you just go to New Site. You have 2 options. It says Full Portfolio and Welcome Page. And I'll say this a couple of times to just reiterate my point. Always start with Full Portfolio and never, 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 never start with the welcome page. It's very finicky to start with the welcome page first, then the full portfolio, is what I hear from those in my professional network. So just be very mindful of that. Just be very mindful of that, and like different fonts, not fonts, themes that you can utilize for your portfolio. But I'm just gonna pick Lucas because I always pick Lucas for these demos, and we're just gonna use this theme. And what's great about Portfolio is that it's very similar to most websites. It's accommodating for desktop, tablets, and phone usage, so they can kind of see and demo what your portfolio looks like on a desktop, on a tablet, on a phone. Just to be mindful of that as well. But I'm gonna go, just let's back to the desktop view, and I'm gonna use this theme. Yep. So as you can see here, there's a couple of fluff that I want to go over that I just don't like in my portfolio. But I'm just going to mention a couple of things. So this is what a blank portfolio looks like. Slightly intimidating, but not really. But if we go to this button on Pages, as you can see, we have 2 bookshelves, or what I was talking about, 2 collections, if you will. So when I was mentioning how portfolio is a library and each collection is a bookshelf, and then each individual like landing square that I showed you, right? Each of these individual landing squares is a book in a bookshelf. So um, first thing I always do is delete that page just because, or delete the contact page because it provides you contact thing on your website. And personally, I just don't think it's necessary for me, but you're more than welcome to explore it. It's not something I cover typically in my workshop, so I typically just delete that. Um, and I delete a couple of things too, just to make it not as tacky, in my opinion. Um, you can have your own logo and upload your own logo, but when you start Portfolio, for some reason, it makes your name a logo, and I think that's, for me, controversial, but controversial hot take, but I think having your own name as a logo is kind of tacky, so I always try to delete that because we don't want a tacky, you know, website. So I'm just gonna go to this navigation tab and change it so site-wide, so across the entire portfolio, or across the entire library, we won't see the tacky logo that for some reason is your name. Just, there we go. Masthead title, I also try to remove it too. It also is not something for me. Uh, but you can keep it there if you want. It's kind of like a section header, if you will. But sometimes I don't. Uh, but you can keep it on there. But because this specific collection or this bookshelf is about work experience, I'll just label that as work experience. And then I'll add a couple of things on this. So now I'll start to add the welcome page. So that thing that I said was forbidden at the beginning, I'll add that. So it's very consistent, and I'm able to tell my story linearly. So we're going to go to welcome page. There's different formats for it, just whatever you want, I guess. But I usually like the centered one because I think it's nice. Um, well, funny enough, even though you created a welcome page, Adobe Portfolio doesn't actually acknowledge it as a welcome page initially at first glance. So you want to go back to pages because right now, as you can see, the work collection or bookshelf still has the home tab. And that makes it so that when you open up your website, that's the first thing that people see. And obviously, you want people to go on the welcome page first and not the work page, work experience page. So we're going to press the setting button on the welcome page and we're going to uh, set as home page. So once they start your website or start at your website, they will see that page first. Additionally, I want to create an About Me section. So I'm going to create a new collection or new workbook called About Me. Where I'm going to add my mission statement and so on. I'm just going to change this navigation real quick just to make sure that welcome page is on the top right. So just to ensure that linearity across the navigation tab on this top left over here. So, oh no, I'm clicking this button and it's not doing anything. Well, you have to condition the buttons or anything that you press on Adobe Portfolio to go to certain locations. So for any buttons that you have, you can edit the button and then make it go to an external link. But why would you do that? Because this is your welcome page and you want them to visit the rest of your website. So you're going to link it to your About Me section to establish that linearity. So when I press edit this button, hi, I'm Nico. Oh, so now I've started a library, or not a library, a bookshelf for my About Me section. So that is, something to think about. Uh, so when you create this bookshelf, right? What's a bookshelf without some books? So I'm going to make one book in particular that includes my missions. And then in an individual book, you can add a bunch of things. Buttons, the buttons that I showed you at the welcome page. So if you want to establish more linearity or organize your website on that basis, social icons, which I'll actually show you right now because I forgot to mention that. But similarly, on my personal website, I have a LinkedIn button to connect students or anyone in my professional network to my LinkedIn to kind of just make it, full circle, right? You can go to edit social icons and okay. Anyways, edit social icons and you want to pretty much I just add my LinkedIn on there or like your Etsy if you're a small business owner or things like that. So on the LinkedIn like button, I'm just gonna go and copy and paste my LinkedIn link, if you will, and turn that button on. That way you can see, okay, now the button is on there. So now once I click that, it's already there. So perfect, right? Uh, there's still something missing about my page background and that it's empty and I want to have a very nice and snazzy photo for it. So I'm going to utilize Adobe Stock, which is another web-based application for under the Adobe Creative Cloud belt, which is a digital depository of like all the stock images, stock photos, stock fonts, stock templates, stock audio, stock vectors, plugins that Adobe Creative Cloud has access to. That's why, when included in your Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, you have all these elements and things like that. So, you know, you can find something that's really engaging that represents your professional identity, right? Uh, as, so obviously in the name of public health and as you aspiring public health or current public health professionals, I am just going to search up public health and hopefully some appropriate stock image shows. And hopefully, okay, so we can see some things related to public health, so that's good. I think I like this one. This one seems cool. Seems very public health, so we're gonna license this, and you should be able to access all these photos and things like that under the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. So you can license that. Just download it as a JPEG. So we'll take that photo. Where's one? Okay. So we'll go to page background and we're going to upload. That's our page background. Pick your stock photo wisely. As you can see, mine is very readable. but you want to pick a stock photo that. So feel free to play around with that. I'm going to go away from this demo and go to more developed portfolio to cover some more features since it will make a little bit more sense time-wise for me to cover those things. Just because as opposed to like building it all from scratch. But let's say you're working a couple, couple some more time using Adobe Portfolio, things like that. You can like for example, like have multiple as my website had multiple pages or not multiple books and one bookshelf. So this is kind of what it looks like uh, on the design end or the editing end. Um, Ignore the pictures, but if you want to, on every single book, a book needs a cover. So if you want to add a cover, you can go to page, edit cover image, upload something so I can like reset this and then I'll just upload something else. Or you can click replace. It might be a little slow. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, if you add a cover page to your book and then again, you can add a photo grid, which you can add captions to really highlight any deliverables of of whatever you did with that organization or project or work experience. But if you, for example, you have to sign like for an NDA or something like that to cover your or because you didn't weren't able to take photos of whatever projects you did, you can get those high level quality stock photos of different genres to really um, represent the kind of work that you did. But as you can see, I have a photo grid. If I want to add text, I can add text. So I'm just going to some random text as well. And you can have each little like you know asset in the page uh, or each in each book as like or I guess these would be you can in the reference or analogy these could be individual pages where you can kind of edit them accordingly if you want them side to side, if you want them on top of one another. You can kind of pick whichever one works for you. Again, you can play around with these more, but that's a pretty much a nice overview of what how to design or create the template, the layer or like the book casing of Adobe Portfolio. Because realistically, it will take you time to upload and curate all these things. It took me a while to really flesh out my website, add all my experiences, add my awards, certifications, conferences, things like that, right? And you're still in your SJC journey, so you're likely going to be adding more and more and more elements into your story. But hopefully, this is a pretty fundamental, elementary, like surface overview of Adobe Portfolio, and basically now that if you're watching this video, you can kind of take inspiration from this and kind of do that groundwork to just be able to plug and chug all your different experiences that you accumulate or will accumulate throughout your time here at SJSU. As you can see, we've kind of went from something like this that's very empty, just the skeleton of portfolio, build something with a little bit more content, kind of building that framework. Um, yeah, hopefully by the time uh, that you're done here at SJSU, you can eventually build up to this where it has all your experiences, all of your everything that you've done here at SJSU to be able to tell that story because it's just another way to tell your story, whether similar to presentations or pitches or podcasts, your own website is again another form of storytelling that you can incorporate to give you as many resources as your disposal because if not just for the requirements of this class or not the class but the leadership series, these these are just basic design principles that could help you propel yourself and give you basic digital literacy skills that you can transfer across different disciplines. Because I know, it can be very intimidating as public health professionals to kind of navigate, what we think we want to do for a job and things like that. As someone who's worked across different industry sectors, the private, public sector, government, nonprofit space, we can apply ourselves in a bunch of different directions. So I guess what's great about Adobe Portfolio for me is that I'm able to weave that story together to navigate and break all that and dispel any of that uncertainty that people might have about me as a public health professional. But yeah, that's my 2 cents about that and how to embed it within the public health coursework. I just wanted to go over a couple of resources before we conclude this workshop today about various Adobe resources on campus. Our Career Center, if you go to the Career Center website, we have uh, various free digital tools. Particularly, I wanted to highlight the Adobe Creative Skills series. So um, we actually have other Adobe workshops here at the school that I don't host. This is kind of my focus and expertise about professional branding. But if you want to learn about generative AI with image generator creation or making web pages through Adobe Express that you can embed in your portfolio, how to make podcasts that you can do for PH 135, for example, or if you're just tired of hearing people talk and just want to take at your own pace learning modules, you can go to the Adobe Creative Cloud series, and that way you can gain access to these um, courtesy of your SJSU tuition about different learning modules that allow you to apply various tools under the Adobe Creative Cloud belt. So if you want to learn intro to generative AI or job application essentials, presentation design, podcasting consideration, marketing campaigns for health communications or health and science communication, data storytelling for any of you PDS folks in the room. So yeah, pretty important resource. And I am not the expert by any means about things Adobe on campus, but we have in the MLK library what's called an Adobe Digital Cafe, run by an Adobe expert who I've worked with for a couple of times. Like his job is to quite literally meet with students and teach them Adobe Creative Cloud. So if you're worried or you don't want to talk to me about portfolio, there's something I can't address, you're more than welcome to reach out to him and the team at the library to get that information. So yeah. And then one important thing as well. So the HonorsX website, and I'll just talk about HonorsX for a little bit because it's my alma mater. Uh, HonorsX is an Adobe-funded interdisciplinary program, so very public health related, very interdisciplinary too. It invites students from all majors and academic disciplines across the SJC campus to work together in teams of different majors and academic backgrounds to ultimately innovate uh, in the field of sustainability and kind of applying cross disciplines in real world solutions. When we think about being interdisciplinary, it's kind of been a disservice to say we're interdisciplinary when we don't really work with teams of, we don't work with engineers, psychology majors, communication major, nutrition, or whatever, right? So definitely encourage you all to look into this program as well. Also if you're thinking about like minoring in something, this program is a like 12 course program, sort of, kind of. So you can look into that and then think about like if you want to minor in this as well, or get a minor through this program as well, and kill two birds with one stone. That works too. But most importantly, in the theme of Adobe tools, on the HonorsX website we have a working with Adobe page, and we have different tutorials. And if you want to learn from someone else who's not me about Adobe Portfolio, about the things we covered, you can watch the demo on the HonorsX website. So I'll just paste it on the chat for those of you who are interested. Um, so, um, and you can learn more about video making, design principles that you can incorporate in your portfolio, how to make engaging slides, and things like that. So thank you so much, PHPA, for allowing me and my colleagues here today to host this event.